Hey everyone, this is Walter, back here once again with another story from Reddit. Maybe more than one, we'll see. Reddit Relationships is the place for people to post about their problems with other people and get advice from Reddit. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship, but they often are. The quality of this advice varies, of course, but the rest of us get a bunch of fun stories to read. Let's just begin with Relationship Woes from Reddit Relationships. This is a story I remembered vividly, so much that I had to go check to make sure I hadn't covered it yet. I don't think I did. But it's crazy, so let's check it out. I, 24 female, am dating a 25 male, an almost unreasonably picky eater, and I'm pretty much at the end of my rope. I met Jake about 2 years ago while out and bonding over the fact that we graduated from the same college. We went on a couple dates and were getting to know each other when he let me know that he had more or less eaten pizza every day for the past 3 years. I didn't love the idea, but I thought he was pretty cool besides that, and figured it was just a little quirk he had, that he was exaggerating, and that the dude just really liked pizza. He was not. He eats it every single day without fail. Each time we go out, it has to be pizza, and after a few fights here and there, it's been pretty much an unspoken understanding that when we go out, we will be getting pizza. Also, it's not just any pizza, he's even picky about his pizza. He'll make us go to a few totally inconvenient pizza places that require a subway ride trip and is far from where either of us live. We live in New York City, and I'm sure most of you know that you pretty much can't pass a single block without stumbling upon a pizza place, so it's not like these places are our only options. I can name all the foods he eats on both of my hands. All are simple carbohydrates, but pizza is his absolute favorite. The others he'll just settle for if pizza is not immediately available. No vegetables, no fruit, no protein whatsoever. He absolutely refuses to even try them, despite never trying most of them before. I've tried to gently push his boundaries, but it always fails, and the one time we went somewhere I wanted to go, he pouted the entire time and ordered French fries. He's promised to be more open, and that this pizza thing won't be forever, but that it's working for him now, whatever that means. He claims to be high-functioning on the spectrum, which honestly I'm not totally convinced of, but that's another story, and that's why he can only eat pizza. This made me more cautious of discussing my issues with his diet, because I know how easily he can claim I'm insensitive to his disability, and that it's something he truly cannot help, and he has. I do firmly believe he has some sort of avoidant eating disorder. That is clearly not debatable. I've more or less dropped it because it always starts a fight, but the resentment is still there. Something I wasn't totally sold on when we first met, but convinced myself was a small quirk, is turning into genuine disgust and bitterness toward him and his unwillingness. I guess he thought I got over it since I stopped bringing it up as much, and he informed me of his plan to stop eating pizza every day after 10,000 consecutive days of eating pizza. To do the math for you, that's roughly around 2040, factoring in the days he's already gained. He's going to document it on his Instagram story and show everybody his streak. I know, this is so childish. It sounds like something I'd do when I was a kid. He seems so proud of this idea and commitment, and I'm genuinely stunned. He thinks this is just some interesting, cute little tidbit about him that people will support because he's such an offbeat guy. I could not believe what I was hearing. Taking away the inconvenience of always having to eat where he wants to eat, not being able to cook for us, me being bored stupid over eating the same shit every time, it's simply not healthy. He claims because he's outwardly fit, it's not a big deal, but I disagree. I was sort of putting up with the whole pizza thing at first, but upon this announcement, I don't know if I could deal with this much longer. It's inconvenient, it's unhealthy, and in my opinion, it's selfish. Everybody you go to eat out with has to cater to a single person's self-imposed dietary restrictions. He's going to Germany with his family for vacation, and he's already mapped out the available pizza places he can eat at. German pizza over authentic German cuisine? It very well could be something he can't help, and he has claimed to be getting help through therapy with it, but I'm seeing no progress, and honestly, I don't think he wants to, and only says he's working on it to placate me. He talks about having a future with me and having kids, and there's no way I would even consider that if he continues to commit to this streak, for the fear of setting a bad example for our children's eating habits. Yeah, it reminds me of that episode of Freaky Eaters where the guy will only eat cheese. Except that guy already did have kids. Kids will accept almost anything. They're just like, oh yeah, cheese, that's just what daddy eats. That being said, you can't just bury something that your partner is really unhappy about and expect things to be fine. He wants to act like he doesn't have an eating disorder, but that's just not true. We don't live together and only see each other about 3 times a week, and the pizza thing is driving me crazy. He proposed moving in together, and I immediately shot that down for the time being. If I can barely handle it now, I know living together would only amplify it. I've tried gently coaxing. I've tried showing him studies on how his diet affects his life and sets back the fitness goals he's always complaining about never reaching. I've tried fighting in anger, only to be told I'm an asshole because I need to accept him as he is and that he can't help it. Maybe he is right. I have to accept it or I have to move on, and at this point I truly don't think I can. He's great in almost every other way except for this. I feel guilty for letting it go on this long when it bothered me from the very beginning, but I can't change that now. Do I concede and let him eat whatever he wants as he's a grown man? Should I draw this boundary and continue to push him to push himself and give an ultimatum? Or do I just need to throw in the towel at this point and move on with my life? 10,000 consecutive days of eating pizza. To those at home, that is 27.39 years of only eating pizza. God, the answer is no, you shouldn't just try to put up with it. If it bothers you this much, not even living with him, it's obviously going to blow up big at some point. Probably best if you don't have kids before that happens. This part of the story doesn't exactly make the guy look like a villain, by the way, but spoilers, the update sure does. He's manipulative as all hell, it turns out. Let's check it out. This happened last night. This update is way more dramatic and unpleasant than I had hoped, but it is what it is. I read what you all wrote, and I appreciate all the comments left for me. Despite a few outlandish ones, they were all very helpful and reaffirming of my beliefs that I'm not being nitpicky about this issue. I decided to give it one last shot at broaching this issue with him and letting him know how serious it was to me. He needed help, and so long as I saw that he was trying, that was all I asked for. We were out to dinner. I'm sure you can all guess what we had to eat. When he brought up his trip to Germany and how he would have to find a supermarket stat in order to stock up on frozen pizzas to keep his streak going. I was hoping to do it after the trip so as not to ruin his good time, but I figured now was as good a time as any. Me. Maybe you don't have to continue the streak. Maybe you can just try new German cuisine without worrying about having to get pizza into your diet the entire time. Have you talked with your therapist about your avoidant eating? Jay, no way. I have people depending on me to continue this streak. I don't want to let them down. Me, I don't think anybody really cares about this streak as much as you do, and frankly I'm worried about you. This is really unhealthy and it's consuming your life. You're about to go on this incredible trip to Germany, and the forefront of your mind is to get to a grocery store to pick up frozen pizzas. I think you really need to discuss this with your therapist again. We had a back and forth the rest of the meal about his diet and how it was affecting our relationship. He doesn't think it's a problem because his health is fine. Keep in mind he's only 25, and how I was being a busybody and needed to mind my own business. I let him know how this is my business because it affects me. We can only go out to eat one thing. We can never have a meal at home together, and if we did decide to move forward and have children, the example he is setting is awful. We let the issue go for the rest of dinner, not wanting to escalate it, and ate in silence. The plan after was to go back to his place where I would spend the night. The entire trip home, he was silent, but very obviously simmering, while I wished I had just gone home. I should have gone home. I guess I didn't expect the shitstorm that waited when I got to his place. He flipped. He began screaming how he was so sick of me bringing this up and how it was his life and how I couldn't control what he did or ate. I told him I cared about him and his health and wanted him to recognize what he was doing was not healthy. I ultimately agreed that he was right. I couldn't control what he did or what he ate, but he can't expect that I stick around and watch and enable him like I had been doing in the past. And here's where this fucking asshole shows his true colors. I know people don't like being bothered about their eating disorders, but no one could possibly think that this reaction is okay. It escalated from there, how he had been there for me the entire time when I was an active alcoholic and through my relapses. I could not and still cannot dispute that. He was. I guess the only difference between him and I is that I wanted to change. I acknowledged the issue and knew that I could not go on like this any longer. Obviously, though, it is much quicker to see the downfall of someone suffering from alcoholism versus someone who is suffering from this kind of eating disorder. One spirals much faster than the other, so I was able to recognize it much quicker. I told him I was going to leave because I couldn't deal with this anymore. We kept fighting, and he let me know he would expose me. He has a blog, and he told me how he would write one about what it was like to live with an alcoholic and use my name. He would be sharing it on Facebook. I completely panicked. I cried and begged that he didn't use my most vulnerable moments against me. He told me if I walked out, he absolutely would. That was all I needed to hear. He was going to blackmail me. I think this snapped me awake to realize this isn't love. If I leave, he's going to humiliate me on the internet to get back at me. That absolutely isn't love. So I left. I don't have many possessions there, but he can keep them for all I care. He emailed me a draft of the post, blocked him on everything else, and the subject was last chance. Let him post it. Fuck it. I can't control other people. I can only control myself and how I react. I deactivated all my social media, and I'm ready to move on with my life. It hurts that somebody I trusted so much would explicitly broadcast my past, but it's a learning lesson. Thank you all for reading. There is a lot to unpack here. First he tries gaslighting her by calling her a busybody. At least I think that's gaslighting. Then he gives up on that and threatens to expose her alcoholism, which she apparently stopped 2.5 years beforehand. Hard to imagine being loving and helping someone through their problem just to use it as ammunition against them 2 years later. It has to be some kind of mental illness to think this is a good idea. I feel like everyone would side with her. People love an addiction success story. Look at Jake Roberts, everyone's been pretty stoked about him. Also, I know I'm not one to talk. I'm also a nobody, but I'm guessing this guy's online following probably isn't big enough to be worried about either way. But anyway, I think that's about all the time I have for you today. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you liked the video, please give it a like. Let me know how you feel about this situation in the comments if you'd like. I do read my comments. The story was a lot more ambiguous before the update. Hard to imagine anyone siding with him now. If you're new here and want more of the same, consider subscribing. There will be more content soon. Thanks also to my generous patrons who support me more directly. Don't know what I'd do without them. I would like to announce that this is the first time since I started YouTube back in 2017 that I have ever managed to make 7 videos in a week. I just wanted to say that. Have a great day, everyone, and make sure to try new foods every chance you get. You never know what's going to be good.